Good morning, everybody. Carmen here with Quality Sewing. And for this week's How Do I series, it is How Do I Create Sewing Resolutions? So today is January 4th, I believe, Tuesday. And it is 2022, a brand new year. So I hope all of you are doing well. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. If you're here in the Pacific Northwest, I hope you fared all of our snowy weather well. We can get out and about again, which is awesome. But I love the start of the year. And the reason why I love the start of the year is I love taking some time and setting intentions for myself for the entire year, right? Or at least for the month of January, because I know many of us we start what we're, our goals for the year, and we do them really well in January. But what I think is so fun about the new year is it's like turning a new page. You can sort of just reset yourself. And it's a great time of year to sort of set some new goals. So this year, I did something that I've actually honestly never done before. I set some sewing goals. And I did that because I have been wanting to do more sewing. As you might well imagine, I am a busy person. I work all the time, and I have two kids who are 14 and 12, and a husband, and I just have a lot going on in my life. And so carving out time for myself to do sewing is something that I really want to do this year. So I did a little bit of research around what are some good ways to set your sewing goals for the year. And I thought I would share them with you because I bet many of you have also set some sewing goals this year. And the fun part about this is I also want to hear about your goals and the things that you have set out to do this year. So first, I'm going to sort of talk through some of the things that I learned as I did some research about setting goals, and some things that might help us do that. And then I'm going to tell you what I'm going to say six goals, but I think I've really made it five, and I'll tell you why when I get there. My goals for this year. And then I'm going to tell you about how I want to hear about your goals. Okay, so the first thing is setting intention, right? The very first thing if we want to set some goals is you've got to decide what is it that you want to do this year in sewing, right? And that could be a lot of different things. I think the most important thing is to be thoughtful and to really think about what are the things that you want to accomplish in your sewing hobby this year, one, and then number two, try to be realistic with what you can actually get done. So, depending on you, you might be somebody who sews every day, and so your list can be much larger. My list is pretty small this year because for me, that is going to be more than I sewed, that actually completed things last year. I'm really good at buying fabric. I'm really good at buying patterns. Like recently I found some patterns for jeans. I'm probably not going to actually sew jeans, but I bought those patterns because I was excited about that concept, right? So I'm sure many of you are like myself, and it's fun to look through our stashes and come up with some projects and to think about what we're going to do. So the first thing is set that intention, right? Make a goal, and be realistic. The next thing is there's lots of different types of goals you can make, right? So the most obvious one I think is project-based, right? So you can see in front of me here, I have some different fabrics, and I'm going to show you what my projects are. So a lot of my goals are project-based, because a lot of times that's what we think about, right? We're like, I have that dress that I was working on, I have this quilt I was working on, or I have this gift for someone. So project-based. So they can be project-based. Another fun goal could be something about approaching a new textile, right? So maybe you are really comfortable sewing on cotton and you've done a lot of quilting, but you have never sewn anything on rayon. And you're like, I'm gonna buy some rayon and make something out of rayon, or I'm gonna sew on silk. Or maybe I've never sewn on wool and I want to sew on wool, or I want to sew on vinyl. So sometimes a fun sewing goal can be picking a fabric that you've been maybe intimidated by, or one that you have in your stash that you bought because it's gorgeous, but you haven't actually made it into something, and learn how to sew on that particular fabric. So that can be a fun thing to do. And then of course, as we talk about textiles, stash busting, right? You could have some goals around how much you want to use from your stash versus how much you want to buy this year. Because sometimes we just have to buy the fabric when we see it, right? We all know this because you see it, it's gorgeous, and you might never see it again. But there's other times when it's really nice, it feels good to go through your stash and find some of that gorgeous stuff and pick out those patterns and decide what you're going to do with that fabric. Okay, the next thing is learning a new skill or technique. So this could be a lot of different things. There's a lot of ways to do this. It could be that you're like, I want to learn how to use all my sewing feet that came with my sewing machine, right? Or maybe you have a machine that you don't really know that well. Like maybe you have a serger that's sitting in your closet and you want to learn how to do that. So that could be a good goal. At Quality Sewing, we do offer a lot of classes, and we have been offering more and more. We have quite a few virtual classes, and those classes, of course, you can watch anywhere. And then we also have quite a few in-store classes. And this year, for those of you who live in the Puget Sound area and who've been following us for a while, you'll know that in September we brought back our in-person classes, and we mostly first just brought back our Learn to Use Your Sewing Machine classes. And this could be a sewing machine, an embroidery machine, a serger. So if you have a machine that you're not familiar with, maybe one of your goals is to get in and take one of our Learn to Use Your Sewing Machine classes, because we would love to show you what that machine can do and show you what all of those feet do, all of that sort of thing, right? But we also, kicking off here in this month, we are having a whole bunch more project classes, and we're going to be adding new project classes every month because we want to make sure that there's lots of fun ways for people to learn new techniques and make projects, no matter where you are in your sewing journey. Because some people, you know, I'm sure some of you have been sewing for 25 years, and I bet some of you have only been sewing for 2 or 3 years. And that is okay. Each of us are in different places in our journey, and that's what's so fun. Okay, so the next thing here is, you know, I think a different mindset. And this is like a big one for me personally, because one of my projects is a dress that I've been a little intimidated, have it all cut out, I just haven't sewn it together. And so I think sometimes it's just changing our mindset around, I can do it, and it's okay if I make mistakes, right? And not being like afraid of just starting the project, right? And I think for me, that's one of the things I'm throwing out the window. I'm not gonna be nervous about it, I'm just gonna go for it, which is usually how I am. But just go for it, figure it out, you know, make it work. Sometimes that mindset can really help with your sewing projects for the year. And then this one is really big for me. Sew something for a friend or a special occasion. I don't know about you, but I love a deadline. If you give me a deadline, I get it done. And so I love a good deadline. So like one of my projects has a deadline for my sister-in-law's birthday, right? Because if I have a deadline, then I'm gonna work towards it and I'm gonna get it done. And sometimes that can be really helpful. And then the other thing is sometimes rethinking about how you're going to sew. I find sometimes, I was just talking to a coworker and she says that one of the things she does every year, she thinks about when she is going to sew each week. And so, and she sets it up where she says, you know what, I'm gonna make sure I sew 3 times this week for 30 minutes each. So it's not big amounts of time, but she can make sure she gets those 30 minutes in each week instead of being like, oh wait, I can only sew when I have 3 hours, right? And I think that is a great tip because it's so easy for all of us to get busy and to feel like, oh, well, I'm gonna get to that when I have more time. But it's great if you can just be like, you know what, 3 days a week, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna sew for 30 minutes. And the thing that really helps that is if you have a dedicated sewing space where your machine is already set up, maybe you have a sewing table or a piece of furniture that your sewing machine is on, but if you have the luxury of having that space where your machine can be out all the time, it makes it really easy for you to go sit down, work on your project for 30 minutes, and then stop, just leave it all out, go do your other things, and then come back a couple days later and work for 30 minutes more. And it's amazing how much sewing you can get done, even with only an hour and a half a week. And so that is another great tip. And then finally, this one I think is a good one to think about. If you are going on vacation at some point this year, that is a great time to schedule your annual maintenance for your sewing machine. Because there is nothing worse than when you have a sewing machine that you're using all the time that just, it's broken, right? Or that it really needs to be serviced and you're in the middle of trying to get that project done for your sister-in-law, right? Because her birthday is coming up, but your machine isn't behaving. And so I always recommend, you know, like if you know you're going to take a vacation that you're not bringing your sewing machine on, then that's a great time to drop it off at your local sewing machine dealer. Like if you're here in the Puget Sound, of course, bring it to Quality Sewing and drop it off and we will get it all serviced. Your machine can go to the spa, you can go on vacation, and then your machine stays in perfect working order for you so that way it's ready when you're ready to do your projects. So those are some of my tips. I bet you have ideas about things that we want to hear about. So the other tip that I have here is writing it down, right? So, so here, this is one example of a way to do that. I had it open to a page. This is a sewing planner, okay? And of course you could use any planner, it doesn't have to be sewing themed. This one is just fun because it's called, you know, it's a vintage simplicity sewing planner here. And it has some little pockets and stuff so you can put some good stuff in here. It has some nice reference glossary pieces in here. This I really like because it has a project section where you can, if you're gonna work on a particular project, you can put a swatch here. You can talk about like what the project is, sort of maybe if you need to do, if you have any to-dos. And then it has a calendar, which for me, this is what is super helpful because I like to plan my projects based on time, right? Like when am I going to actually do them? Because like I mentioned earlier, I need a deadline because that just really helps me get them done. And so it's really easy for you to go in here and by month put like what are the projects you want to get done each month and what are those goals around those. So this is a really fun project planner. So we want to hear from you. I'm going to share my 5 or 6 goals for sewing this year, but I want to hear your 5 or 6 goals or your one goal or the things that you do that help you be successful in your sewing projects throughout the year. And so if you comment to this Facebook post, you will be entered to win. We're going to give away 3 of these and you will be entered to win this just by commenting what your sewing resolutions are for this year.
So Linda was asking, do we sell the planner?
We do sell the planner. The planner is also available on the website, and I think it's about $15. So yes, we also sell the planner. So you can for sure hop over to the website and you can buy one as well. And of course, you can check it for in-store pickup, or we can ship it to you. Any order over $100, we do ship for free. So yes, but we want to hear from you because what I have found with so many things is just the conversation we could have around sewing resolutions. We will all learn more about, things that might make a great resolution for ourselves or a goal for ourselves or tips for how to get more of our sewing projects done, because I bet each and every one of you has some amazing ideas that we want to hear. Okay, are you guys ready for my goals this year? Mine are really project-based. My number 1 is a technique. I really want to improve my garment construction and serging garment skills because that is definitely a weak area for me. For a long time, I've done a lot of home dec, quilting, making bags, repurposing of clothing, those sorts of things. But I haven't done a ton of like from a pattern, from scratch, like make a garment. So that would be my first goal is I want to work on that, right? That's the technique that I want to focus on, and I want to connect it to using sergers and do more work with a serger, okay? So my second goal is to finish this dress. So here is this really adorable dress. This dress, like I was just telling my coworker, is so me. I don't know if you've noticed, but I tend to wear a lot of black. I really like black. So the fabric I have picked is this really lovely fabric, and you can see how cute this is going to be, right? I have this entire dress already all cut out. Reva helped me with the pattern pieces that I wasn't, didn't really quite know what I was doing, but I have everything all cut out here, and I'm really excited to put this dress together. I made a cute shirt out of this fabric already. That's really lovely. And the other thing I love about this pattern is that it has pockets. I don't know about you, but I love pockets in a dress. So this is my first goal. My first goal is to finish this by March. So I'm really hoping you hold me accountable. One of these days in March, I need to come on here in this dress. So that is my goal. And that's the other thing that I forgot to mention earlier is sometimes having a herd, having people to help you, held you accountable for your goals is really awesome. So part of me sharing this with you is it will help hold me accountable to actually getting these things done. And sometimes, it can be, if you have a sewing friend, sharing with your sewing friend what you want to get done this year and checking in with them, that can also be a great way to get your sewing projects done. And then also, of course, your sewing friend can probably help you out if you get stuck somewhere in your project, because I know we all do sometimes. Okay, so that was my second goal. My third goal is at Expo a couple years ago. I think the last time we had in-person Expo, actually, so I guess it'll be almost 2 years. My daughter picked the polka dots, and I went out in a wild hair and picked mustard yellow for myself, which I actually really like. It goes with my black. But we both picked these really lovely knit fabrics that have some really nice drape to them, and we both want to make some shirts. And so my daughter has been learning to sew for many years, and she loves to sew. She made that stocking, for our puppy in December. She does all sorts of sewing. But she also doesn't do a ton of garment construction, and that's because I haven't taught her that part because I'm not super good at it. So we're gonna work together, and she's gonna make her shirt and I'm gonna make a shirt. And so the first thing we have to do is we have to pick our patterns. We haven't picked a pattern yet. So the first thing we'll do is pick our pattern, but then we wanna do this sometime in March or April. And I've picked March or April because April is her spring break. So if nothing else, we will get these done in spring break and make our shirts. So that is my third goal, and it's also fun to include my daughter in it, right? Because she's super excited and she'll help me make sure I get it done because she wants a shirt. Yes.
Somebody's asking for more information about the dress pattern that you had shown.
Oh, yes. So this is by Sewn, and I will look online after this and see if I can link you to her. I bought this at Expo as well a couple years ago, and I don't know if this is a pattern that we carry or a pattern that is still available. So what I will do is we will post to this if I can find the link to her website. And if not, maybe we'll link some things that are similar patterns that we can find. Okay, so the next thing, my fourth is also project, and it is to we have a dark brown sofa, and I need some new throw pillows. And I love Pendleton wool so much. I just think it's gorgeous. It has such a beautiful weight. So I need to make a couple throw pillow covers. I'm not gonna make the pillow itself. I have a pillow insert that I've already purchased. So this will be a fun, easy weekend project, right? This will only take a couple of hours. This is the sort of project that I usually do, honestly, because it's just great. You get a couple hours, you're all done, finished project, easy. But it's nice to add those in because you'll notice here in a minute I have a much larger project, and it's good to have a mix of projects, some that are easy and quick so you feel accomplished and you have something to show for your work, and then sometimes it's also good to have those larger projects that are going to take some more time. So my goal is to get this one done some weekend this winter. And for me, as you can tell, I've added the time of when I'm going to try to get the stuff done because it really helps me accomplish my goals instead of just hoping I'm going to do it sometime because I just find for myself it just means I don't really end up doing it. And then this is my big project. So my sister-in-law is a very avid gardener. She's a master gardener. In fact, she's gone through that whole program, and she has a beautiful vegetable garden. And so there are these beautiful fabrics that were all by Free Spirit that all have all these veggies, right? You have the radishes, you have some kale here, lima beans, these are more radishes, all sorts of different stuff. There's some carrots in here, but super fun. There's some, I think these might be turnips, and all sorts of fun, good stuff here. But there is this great quilt, and this pattern is actually just a free download off of Moda's, off of the Free Spirit website. And this, the designer who designed this fabric also designed this pattern, and it is all these canning jars. And then it shows off all of these fun fabrics, right? Which I think she would adore. And so my goal is to make this quilt for her birthday, which is the very end of October. And so this one I'm going to start, sometime this spring, and then work through the summer and the fall and get this one done, because I know this one's going to take me a little bit more time because I've got to piece the whole top, of course, and then I have to quilt it and bind it and do all of that good stuff. But I'm pretty excited about this, and how fun is this fabric? So this one is my fifth one, and I had made a sixth one, but I decided as I was setting this up that 6 is too many for me right now. I felt like that started overwhelming me, so I'm going to take out my sixth one and be like, this can stay in my stash. If I get all this stuff done by the end of October or sooner, I can always add more projects. But for me, 5 was a really good goal to stick with. And so those are what my sewing resolutions and my sewing goals for this year are. I would love to hear. That's really what I said. I would love to hear what your sewing goals are. I would love to hear what projects you might be wanting to make, what tips you have for getting your sewing done, and what your resolutions are, even if you just have one, which is I'm going to be fearless this year. That would be awesome. Or if you want to list off 5 or 6, that's great too. Please comment here. We want to hear about these. And then, like I said, if you comment on this post at all and you share your resolution, you will be entered to win one of 3 of these vintage sewing planners, and you can also find these on our website. We have a question.
Well, when are we giving away the planner? When do they need to comment by?
That's such a good point. You have 1 week to comment. So please comment by this time next Tuesday, and we will do the drawing right before our Tuesday 10 a.m. next week, so we can announce the winner. We will even announce the winners next week on this segment. Okay, great, everybody. Well, happy sewing, and I look forward to hearing what your resolutions are.